Welcome to another Turn 'em Sideways channel video. We are going to be doing the set review of Spiritforged, and I've got Prismaticism here to walk me through. Kick things off with some of these comments. We got Black Market Broker. When you play a card from face down, play a gold gear token exhausted. I'm going to continue my 3-cost hate train and put this at a 1. I think the condition is not good enough for just getting a gold, and I probably just don't want to ever play this card in Constructed.
Yeah, I'll agree with a 1. I was thinking about Nocturne, if Nocturne counted as played from face down, but I realized they eroded him where he's banished as an intermediate step before he gets played, so that never happens. So this is specifically only for hidden cards, I think. And the hidden card deck would be Teemo, and Teemo doesn't want to pay power costs too often. And even if so, he would prefer to play like a Plundering Poro if he wanted his gold.
Next up is called Shot. This one, I tweeted when this was revealed just the words "excuse me," and it was one of my best performing tweets of the year. So I think people kind of think this card is crazy. And to be honest, from testing, you know, I thought it was going to be crazy, and it is. It's a crazy card. I'm going to give it a 5. I think it's actually pretty, especially in Ezreal. And a lot of purple decks can also just play purple Ezreal, which also makes it crazy. And gold makes it crazy. It's good.
I guess it's a 5, but only because of purple Ezreal. I think people are really overrating the card if they have to pay the full cost for it.
Yeah.
I think, like, compared to Consult the Past, if you're not repeating this is significantly worse. You have to repeat it. And if you want to repeat it, you basically need a purple Ezreal. But I do see, like, this combined with purple Ezreal, combined with purple Seals, and then probably Fizz as well, as being like a staple package in every purple deck, just giving you all the card draw that you need.
Yep. And it's the fact that it's like card selection too, I think, is really what like pushes over the edge, right? Looking at 2 and picking 1 is just like so much better. Up next is Corrupt Enforcer. When I move to a battlefield, discard 1. When I win a combat, draw 1. I don't think this is super playable. I'm going to put it as a 1 for me. Maybe Jinx likes this card, but even then, I feel like there's better things to do in your early game.
Yeah, I'll give it a 1 and say that Jinx doesn't like this card.
Up next is Doran's Ring. This is a 1-cost. When I conquer, discard 1 and then draw 1. I think specifically if you're playing purple Jinx Champ Zone, this card is kind of neat. And then outside of that, I don't know. I don't think it's good enough. I think the impact is too low. You can get this effect in purple plenty of other ways.
Give it a 2. I have an idea. I haven't tested it yet at all, but some crazy Jinx deck that plays 6 Seals and then these Doran's Rings and then basically nothing that costs more than 2 or 3 mana. And then this card would be very core to that strategy where you'd empty your hand every single turn, but then this would reliably let you draw extra cards after emptying it each turn. You to draw 3 or even 4 cards per turn, which gives it at least a chance of being good. And then the purple Jinx combo is also quite good.
Yeah, I could see it. Up next is Fae Porter. When I move to a battlefield, you may pay a purple power to move a unit you control to the same battlefield. I think it's neat. Movement effects are solid. I just don't think it's good enough. I'm going to give it a 1.
Yeah, I'll give it a 1 as well. It's better than the set 1 card. I forget what it was. Some pirate that
I know
when another unit moves, it can move with them. It had a power cost built into the cost of the unit. So this is better than that, but I think honestly, even if this could just move for free, pull something else for free without the power cost, it would not be very good. Really, movement effects are good when you move 1 unit rather than moving an additional unit with the first unit you moved.
Yep, and notably that leads into the next one. When you defend at a battlefield, you may move me there from the loyal pup, so it can jump around, but it is very face up. Like the pup will either be at one battlefield and you move to the other and it can move there. Or it's at base and it can move there, but your opponent can always kind of take into account that 3. And again, 3 drops have to do something really good for me to really want to put them in the deck, and this is not good enough for me. So this poor pup is just going to get a 1 for me.
Yeah, if it was just a little bit bigger, it could have some value. I don't know how much bigger. I guess if it had shield, something like that, that would be close to enough to push it over the edge where fixes the issue of defending, where your opponent just sends a little bit more than you and kills your stuff for free. But then this is always sitting there threatening to at least force a trade. But 3 for 3 is not good enough.
Next up is Master Bingwen. which is just a 6/6 Weapon Master. If the 5/5 Weapon Master wasn't good enough, I think this one is also not good enough, and I will give it a 1.
He gets a 1 for everything except his name.
Yes.
I don't know why he has such a cool name, and then it's just a Weapon Master unit.
And then he has like glasses that
Who is this guy?
low-key look like sunglasses, but they're not. They're just like tinted lenses, and he's got a pipe. Like, yeah, true. Like, for everything except for his abilities and stuff, he's a 5, and then he's just a 1. All right. Up next is Overzealous Fan. I think this is a 5. I think this card is really good. I think it's basically fight or flight 4-6. It's not quite as flexible because you actually have to play it to a battlefield you control, right, in order to get that effect. But in slow purple decks that want to play more controlling, he's a good 2-drop because you can play him, go conquer, and then if they want to move into that battlefield, you can just kill him to stall a turn. You can just use it as a push. In like more aggressive decks or like Draven decks, you can just trade him for a card and look for a hold and set up either a gold from your red Draven or a point from your purple Draven. I just think there's a lot of really good flexibility with this card, and then he's still just like a 2-drop, which is fine. So I'm big on Overzealous Fan. I'm high on it.
Yeah, I also think he's a 5. The big thing, like if you think about Gem Jammer or Tide Turner as you sometimes score an extra point at some point throughout the game, this unit is, as long as it gets into a combat, doesn't die to a spell, it's just going to say your opponent scores 1 less point at some point in the game, which is an insane effect to have. And then, yeah, the combos with Raven. It's a face-up fight or flight, but it's also not risky because it's a unit that's sitting there at the same time, and it's a 2-drop.
All right, next is Temptation with Repeat 2. Move a unit to a location where there's a unit with the same controller. This is almost certainly a combo card, but it also can just like open up a battlefield for a Conquers. It can count. It can work as a push as long as your opponent has something at base. Or it can move stuff to a battlefield and then hit something with like a bullet time or like some other combo. I do think Temptation has room where it could be really good. I'm going to give it a 3 for now, and I think that this card could improve with certain combinations.
I think I'm going to give it a 1. If you're trying to use it in the same mode as Fight or Flight, you would just much rather have a Fight or Flight. And then, I don't know, pulling their units in, it's like a really weird charm. Can't see it.
The cake is a lie for Briz. Next, we got Treasure Hunter, which is when I move, play a gold gear token exhausted. Move triggers tend to be pretty good when they give you something you want. You mentioned when we were talking about blue, where Ezreal actually has the Frigid Touch, which can kind of allow ones to be able to still win combats because you can reduce mites to 0. I think Treasure Hunter has actually been honestly way more impressive when I've seen it in testing than I ever thought. But because it is 1 might, not 2, there are still cases where it does have some feel bads. So I'll give it a 4 instead of a 5, but it actually like came closer to a 5 than I ever would have thought for a 2-drop that only has 1 might.
Yeah, I'll give it a 4. I really don't like 1 might 2-drops, but it is up there with its effect with Watchful Sentry. It is the sort of thing where, especially in purple, you can just avoid having it go into combat for a while.
Next up is Ancient Warmonger. I have Assault equal to the number of enemy units here. I think, as you've mentioned, often 1v1s do end up happening, which is maybe why, you know, I underrated Fiora in the body section, thinking that maybe it would be easier to avoid the 1v1s, but I actually think, when I'm thinking about it more, 1v1s happen more often than not. And Assault equal to enemy units is not a good enough effect, even though this is an Accelerate unit. I'm going to put it as a 1, because as an Accelerate, it is very poorly statted, and it relies on this Assault that I don't think is going to really happen.
Yeah, I'll give it a 1. It's a Temptation combo, but not a very good one.
It's maybe the worst Temptation combo we've seen yet. All right, Beast Below. When you play me, return another friendly unit and add an enemy unit to their owner's hands. So you bounce one of your units to bounce an enemy unit, and it is really, I mean, pretty fairly statted when it comes to might. This is an 8 might unit for 7 and 2 power. I think it's pretty playable as a card, but it's maybe you can combo with some good like on play effects like Fizz to make it a bit better. And for me, it's still something like a 2 or a 3. Maybe I'll be generous and give it a 3. I think it's pretty playable as a top end, but I feel like there's often going to be better options.
I think I'm going to give it a 1. I don't think purple in general wants to be a late game color, and it's better than, what is the 4 cost from set 1 that has Rebuke stapled to it? Is it a bouncer?
I can't remember the exact thing, but it is a 4 energy, 2 power, 2 might, and then it has the bounce. Zonite bouncer.
It was a bouncer. Okay, yeah. So it's another like Rebuke stapled to a unit. This one is better than the Zonite bouncer, I'll say, but I think that if you're doing purple things, you'd rather just have Rebuke.
Fair enough. All right, up next is Boots of Swiftness. This is 3 energy, equipped as 1 power, give ganking and +2. I like this, not as like a ton of copies, but I think giving ganking in the late game especially can be really insane. Obviously in purple, it's like Misfortune can give ganking already, so it can't go into a Misfortune deck, but like other purple decks can use this. I'll say it's like honestly, it's like a 4. I think giving ganking is really valuable, but it's probably not played as like a 3 of. It's probably played in lower numbers.
It's really slow, but yeah, the ganking is quite high value. I guess I'll give it a 4 as well. It's something I thought it would be terrible at first, but it does turn out that ganking, especially when you make a unit bigger, there's a lot of situations where you hold with some early like 2-drop, let's say, and then you can just play and equip this and get good value.
Yep. I think also just like the card selection of purple lets you play it as like a 1 of, which it makes it way better if you get to play it as a 1 of. I don't want to play that many copies. Up next is Cull. This is when I conquer, play a gold gear token exhausted with +1. Purple so far to me has not felt like a color that really wants to play very much gear, and so I don't like Cull very much in purple decks. So I'm just gonna give it a 1. I'm not super excited about it, even though I do think like, yeah, getting gold gear is great, but yeah, I just think it's a 1.
Yeah, I'll give it a 1 as well. You already have the treasure hunter if you want gold.
Yeah.
And that's quite strong, so.
All right. Factory Recall. Action speed, return a gear to its owner's hand for only 1. This is great into equipment. Just being able to bounce it to the hand and basically reduce the might of a unit. It is a tech piece, right? Like this is something that you have to either sideboard against heavy gear decks. The issue then comes down to like bouncing gear. They can still just maybe replay it on the next turn, so it's not like insane, but it's kind of playable. I'm just gonna have it at a 2. I think the action speed might make it even better, but I'm not like a huge fan of this card, but I just also don't hate it. I think it's okay.
Yeah, I think I'll give it a 2 as well. There is other gear removal. Acceptable loss is a lot worse now that gold exists, but there's also fading memories if you want to permanently deal with the gear. So this has to get used as a combat trick, and then it probably also has to come in from the sideboard because you're not going to main deck this. If Scrap Heap, I'm pretty sure Scrap Heap says when it dies, you draw a card, but if it said when it leaves play, this would be a nice combo.
Yeah.
It does combo with the
treasure trove, right?
Treasure chest.
Yeah.
Yeah, treasure trove.
All right. Hard Bargain. This is the 2-cost reaction. Repeat for 2. Counter a spell unless its controller pays 2. I thought this was going to be better, but it's still very, very good, and I am somewhere between a 5 and a 4. I think for Annie being able to always have this up, it does kind of make it a 5, that it just is like always looming as a threat. And then for other purple decks, it's probably closer to a 4. But when it is really good, it is really, really good. I'll give it the 5.
Yeah, I think I'm going to give it a 5 specifically because of Annie. You're not going to be able to play around it. And ideally, you set up your turn so that you're playing whatever spells are counterable first. But even with that in mind, like a lot of the time you want to accelerate a unit and then play spells with it, or you just have an expensive spell to play, something like Time Warp is just out of the window in that matchup now. You can't rely on it, which used to be a very important piece for dealing with Annie. And then even other purple decks can still get value out of it, as a 1 of especially. Like, it's going to be difficult to play around.
Next up is Harpoon Squad. When I move from a battlefield, give me +2 this turn. Pretty neat in Misfortune with ganking, but I'm not sure that the effect is good enough to get the job done and make it have a spot in the deck. But it is definitely interesting with like being able to move somewhere. Yeah, move somewhere, ride the wind back, and then move there again is very funny. That's like +6, but that's like a very specific combo in a Misfortune deck that's 2 cards and requires you to like start at a battlefield. I think it's like a little too conditional to get crazy, but I don't think it's a bad card at all. I'll give it a 2.
I think it's a 1. I don't know anyone that has played Back Alley Bar, but even if they did try playing it, it probably came up once every few games.
All right, over to Windsinger. This is a unit with Gust stapled onto it, and it can be hidden. I actually think this card's quite good. I don't think it's like broken or anything, but I think it's niche playable, and certainly if Gust is a good card, this becomes a pretty interesting 2-drop to play, especially in Ezreal, which I do think has been the deck that can kind of play around these 1 might units a little bit better. I'm going to just give Windsinger a 3. I think it's a pretty playable card.
Yeah, I guess I could give it a 3. I think it's a very aggressive card where you want to play 3 of this and 3 Gust and basically just keep your opponent off of the board the entire time while you rush points. The hidden mode of it is very weak. Again, your unit gets knocked out and then you just have a 1 might unit sitting there. And then even if it does flip during a combat, it is very limited on what it's going to be able to target. A lot of the time your opponent could just use Assault, use a spell to get bigger and completely negate it.
Up next is Edge of Night. This is an equipment that can be hidden, and it will attach if you play it from hidden, so you basically are just paying that cost once, which is, I mean, honestly, pretty decent. I haven't really tested with this at all. It's not a super attractive card to me, as I was saying. I don't think equipment in general are that enticing in purple right now, with the exception for me of like the boots to give the ganking. But maybe this is okay. I'm just gonna give it a 2. I'm not super impressed with this, but just cost-wise, it's relatively efficient, so I don't mind it.
Yeah, I'll give it a 2. It's not as high impact, especially in a Teemo deck, as hiding a Teemo. But it does have the upside where if your opponent tries to use spells on your unit, then you can save it by giving it the might buff. And then the value over time, if you're able to generate gold to pay for it, can definitely be worthwhile.
All right, up next is Fizz 5. this card's crazy. Being able to pick any spell out of your trash and then replay it. Yes, any spell that is 3 or less. And yes, you have to pay the power cost of that spell, but I think what is it? The Magic player, Snapcaster Mage, pretty good. Yeah, it's a really great card. I have been endlessly impressed with Fizz, and I think almost every purple deck can currently play Fizz and feel really good about it. So I'm just giving it a 5.
Yeah, I'll give him a 5 as well. Like Purple Annie, she's not a great card, but Annie does get pretty good use out of her, and this is a 3-cost Purple Annie that lets you just get it immediately with a discount. So play things like Rebuke. Worst case, you play like a stack deck, you still got good value out of him.
Yep. Up next is Irelia Graceful. Your spells that choose me cost 1 energy or power less, and then she is 4 with a power. But this is a 4 in the champ zone. Yes, the power cost is real. It is a very real cost. But she kind of starts to give you that refund relatively quickly from her ability. And so I give the other Irelia a 4. I also like this Irelia a lot, but neither of them is a 5 to me. They're both pretty similar. I think in like power level, I'm going to also give her a 4. I think the ability is good. And you had made a comment when we did our green section about how it might be whether you're going first or second, which one of these might be better in the champ zone. And I think that's something to explore. I think they're both pretty solid champ zone cards. And I like Irelia Graceful.
Yeah, I'll give her a 4. Cost reduction, especially this can make a lot of spells cost 0, which is very strong. Her signature spell and On Guard are the 2 biggest ones. But there is a limit to how big she can get. She's definitely a lot better than Kiana. I'll say that.
All right, up next is Jay Medarda. 5 cost, 2 power. When you choose me with a spell, draw 1. I feel like he's too slow, and he's in a color that draws really well already. And that's the issue with Jay Medarda particularly. I'm gonna give him a 1. Poor Jay, but yeah, I just don't think this is a card that you ever need if you're playing purple.
I almost want to give him a 2 because I could imagine a combo deck involving him and then Vex maybe, but there's a limit to what spells that can choose him can do, so I'll give him a 1. Maybe something broken at some point can happen, but I don't see it right now.
All right, up next is Sivir Mercenary, another champ zone potential for the Sivir decks. 4 and a power cost with Accelerate, and if you've spent 2 power this turn, I have +2 and ganking. So interestingly, the ganking doesn't matter the turn she comes in unless you have another way to ready her, but just paying for herself and her Accelerate does make her +2. So she's 5 energy, 2 power, 6 I enter ready. That would have ganking if there's a combo with her. I don't think this is the best champion zone card ever, but I actually think it kind of passes the bar for something you're pretty happy to have existing in your champion zone. And in some ways, she reminds me of like even Orange Master Yi, where it's like the card in a vacuum isn't crazy. You really wouldn't want to put it in your deck, but when it's in the champion zone specifically, it's kind of stronger. And for that, I'm actually going to give her a 4. I don't think this card is incredible by any means, but she's a 4 in the context of champion zone, and then she's a 2 or a 1 in the context of anywhere else.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Like, Accelerate from the champion zone is amazing. She really wishes that she was a Darius, Red Darius, but she's just not.
Yep. It is one of those funny things with the champ zone, where some cards that are just like unplayable are actually quite good when they are in the context of being there. All right, up next is Spirit Wheel. When you choose a friendly unit, you may pay 1 and exhaust this to draw 1. If Irelia needs card draw, I mean, this is a hell of an option to just guarantee that you're going to be drawing cards, but the colors are purple and green for Irelia, so for my money, you don't really need too much additional card draw necessarily. So this may struggle to actually find a home, even though power level wise, it's kind of fine. So I'll give it a 3 because power level wise, I think it's fine, but I just don't know that it might just be too slow. Like, you don't really need to do this.
I'll give it a 3 as well. It is really slow, and purple has a lot of card draw options, but with Misfortune as well, her legend ability chooses friendly units, so you can also just make that into a reliable 1 card per turn.
Yeah, it's so funny. I think if this is in a lot of other colors, it's like this card is really, really great. Like if orange has this, they might really like it.
Happy.
But yeah, purple just doesn't really need it. Up next is Switcheroo. This card is really exciting for Teemo, and then I'm curious if other purple decks are going to consider it. It's 2 energy, 2 power, but it has hidden, so you can get rid of some of that steep power cost. Action, swap the mites of 2 units at the same battlefield this turn. So basically, you can just say no you to your opponent if they come in with a bigger might total to your 1 unit that is defending, which is like very strong to be able to do. It's also like if a kill spell comes into your Mundo, you can play this and swap the might onto like another unit that you have trying to go for a big hold. There's a lot of application for this spell that I think is really powerful. I hesitate to give it a 5 because it feels still kind of niche. It's not like it's always good in every scenario, but I will give it a 4 because I do think like this card is really powerful, and being in your hidden arsenal for like a Teemo deck is, I think, pretty nice.
I think I'm going to give it a 5. If your opponent wants to push your battlefield, they have to have a bigger unit than you, almost exclusively. I can see this replacing Rebuke in a lot of decks, and it's not quite Punch First because it is a bit limited, but I think it's just a step below Punch First, where your opponent's going to have 2 mana open, like even an Annie, and trying to play around this card is going to be very difficult.
That makes sense. All right, up next is Vex Cheerless. While I'm in combat, friendly spells cost 1 energy and 1 power less to a minimum of 1 energy, and enemy spells cost 1 power and 1 energy more. The effect is very strong. It's very limited because it is just combat, and she's really slow. She's expensive. But this effect is like very good. I will give her a 3 because the text box is really strong, but I am worried about the cost and everything. I think that's like quite a slow card.
Yeah, I might give her a 3 as well. It's not quite Lotheb from Hearthstone, but your opponents really don't want to play spells when she's in combat, and that can cause problems for a lot of decks. Unfortunately, that has the minimum cost on her side for friendly spells, but still means that if you can get her in play and then start using her, that she's going to be way hard to deal with. Like, this is effectively deflect that she has on her.
Yep. Up next is Downwell. Return all units and gear to their owner's hands. Welcome back, sunk costs. It's very funny. The flavor text even has a reference to sunk costs in it from Legends of Runeterra. Notorious card for being completely unplayable that somebody memed and put in a deck to get rank 1 with. Just never playing it. There is maybe a combo here that exists where you're just like bouncing everything. If there's like a purple control deck that this actually can like buy you a lot of space, maybe it can be good enough. The cost is steep. Definitely a multiplayer card, right? Just like this is a Wrath or whatever, just like bounce everything. But for competitive play, I think I'll give it a 2. I see an idea, like a glimmer of an idea of where this could actually be like useful, and I'll give it a 2 for that. But I don't think it's like I struggle to find it being like widely applicable.
Yeah, I'll give it a 2 as well. It could be in like a cheese deck where you get to 5 points, bounce everything, and then do a purple Yasuo combo the next turn. Some decks aren't going to be able to deal with that, but I think Accelerate exists.
Yeah.
So even then, it's not like there's no counterplay.
Yeah, most decks just are like rocking Accelerate in one way, shape, or form, right? So it's quite tough. Next up is Draven Audacious. This card is so funny because we recently released a video, which was a podcast episode, where we rant about how this card is probably kind of crazy for a while, right? And it's 6 energy, 1 power, 6 might, deflect. First time I win a combat each turn, you score 1 point. When I die in combat, choose an opponent, they score 1 point. We talked about how this is crazy. You could probably avoid the like dying in combat because like spells, killing it at base, whatever, who cares? It has deflect. You're going to score often. Then I immediately go play some test games and I hidden blade this and score a point off it in a combat. And I'm like, this card is not nearly as good as I thought it was. I still think it's good. I think it has some applications, but I am more at a 3 instead of a 5 with Audacious. I think it is still has some really strong spots, but I think there's like colors that just can almost invalidate it.
Is that how it works, where he dies just while a combat is happening? It doesn't
While
have
he
to be
is
from
in
the
combat
damage?
Yeah, if he is in combat.
Yeah, that is a lot worse.
Now, if again, this is another one. Look, we have not gotten like a rules document come out for the set from Riot yet as of recording this video. If they have like a clarifying thing that says Draven has to die to combat damage, not just while in combat, that changes a lot. But I'm going off of, if I hidden blade this guy when he comes into a combat, when he's fighting one of my units, I'm getting a point. And he's a 3 in that sense.
I think I'll still give him a 4. Compared to every other effect in the game that can score you additional points, he is the most on cost, on curve card overall. And purple is the best color at one of the best colors at trying to protect him. I think there's a lot of different decks and legends you could try to make him work in. Like you already have Ride the Wind in purple, but then a lot of other things you can add to it with other colors. I think even if you are risking giving the opponent the point, you can always keep him in base. Like it's a unit that when he's in base, it puts an enormous amount of pressure on the opponent to never let him in, never let him cheese points.
Yep, I do think I agree with that. I think him still being able to cheese stuff because he's purple makes sense. Ezreal Prodigy now going to come up. When you play me, discard 1, then draw 2. Optional additional cost you pay costs 1 energy or 1 power less. This is a 5. If you've tested this set at all and played into purple Ezreal with purple Ezreal and any purple decks, this card is incredible. It is so strong. It enables so many different cards. This card's great.
Yeah, he's a 5. Pays for Accelerate, pays for Repeat. 2 very common keywords, and then he's also just a card draw unit.
Very, very strong card. Final card of Chaos, Last Rites. When I conquer or hold, you may play a unit from your trash, get +2. There's a lot of card draw in these colors, so maybe that's not as crazy, but if there's like something that you want to cheat out repeatedly, like even a Fizz or something like that, where you get to conquer, play another Fizz out of your trash, there's some really cool ideas with this. I'll give Last Rites a 4. I actually think the idea of being able to recur some stuff is going to create some really strong combos.
Yeah, it's not quite a 5 yet, but in the future it probably will become one. I'll give it a 4 as well. The one thing that's really nice about this is with other equipment, the unit equipped to it dies and you need to find another unit to give it to. But with this, you give it to a unit and then it goes and conquers, and then you get another unit to immediately equip it to. So you're just going to be able to loop that repeatedly. You only need a couple of units, and then as long as you can keep your trash full is the one condition. I think if more cards like Rasa get printed, then this card becomes potentially very, very disgusting. But with only Rasa as the combo, and the fact that it takes cards out of your trash to equip, means that it does limit how strong that combo can be.
Thanks so much, Priz, for joining us on this review. Prismat, where can the people find you if they want to learn more about your Riftbound journey?
They can find me on twitch.tv/Prismat. I stream mostly online tournaments, going to be doing some set 2-3 crafting in the future. And then they can also find me on metafy.gg/@prismaticism. I published a Teemo guide recently. Go check that out. And then I also offer coaching there.
All right, well, that is it on Chaos. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel and let us know what you think about these Chaos cards. If you think we're wrong about them, if you think you have found a combo or something really interesting with one of these cards that we may have missed, let us know. We really want to talk about it. We're always happy to be wrong about these reviews. This is early on. We've barely been able to even play with the cards yet, and so we want to see what everyone else is cooking up as well. Catch you on the next one.